Warning: as a Berry employee, safety is always the #1 priority. Never do anything you have not been trained to do. If you are ever unsure about any task that you've been asked to do, get help. With all the safety guards training and talks about safety, it still all comes down to your decision making. Please make sure all your decisions are based on the safety of yourself and the safety of your teammates. This brings us to the 10 safety hazards on the bag machine that we'll be looking at today. Slitting is the first hazard. We have tower mounted slitters, and we also have bag machine mounted slitting. Each one of these poses its own safety concerns as both of them use very sharp razor blades. That brings us to hazard number 2, dancer bars. The first set of dancer bars are there to regulate the speed of the bag machine. Make sure that it matches the speed of the extruder. As that bar goes up and down, it'll make small changes in the speed of the bag machine. When it's running like this, there's a gap between the frame and that dancer. If we lose the web, that dancer will slam down and create a serious crushing hazard. That brings us to number 3, the capstan rollers. The capstan rollers are in charge of pulling the film at a consistent pace. They keep tension on the web, and although just the bottom roller is actually driven, the top one makes contact, so that actually does create a pinch point that is a hazard. This is the capstan area with the guard in the down position. That takes us to number 4, the second dancer section. Although it looks like the first dancer section, its job is being more of an accumulator than a speed control. Caution still needs to be used, as the same crushing hazard is still present between the dancer and the frame on this machine. That takes us to number 5. The last roller while threading the second dancer section is driven, so it needs to be treated as such. While no other rollers actually touches it, they still are close enough for a finger or hand to become lodged between the two. That takes us to number 6, auxiliary equipment. Auxiliary equipment like venting or punch equipment are always mounted just before the draw rolls. The web comes to a complete standstill at this point, allowing for the punches to cycle through the plastic without tearing it. Punches have moving parts and represent pinch or crushing hazards. Your facility may have different variations of venting equipment, so pay close attention to how to safely thread and web through them. That takes us to 7, draw rollers. Behind the orange guards are 2 sets of draw rolls, or sometimes called pinch rollers, that pull in the correct amount of plastic based on the bag width settings. There is zero clearance between these rollers, and this is one of the most dangerous areas of the machine. This is what the rollers look like behind the orange guards. Trying to do this process with the machine running is incredibly dangerous and should never be tried ever. That takes us to number 8, sealing head. The sealing head or sealing bar is designed to seal the edges of the plastic. It does this by its shape, contact time, and being between 800 and 1000 degrees. Any contact, no matter how quick, will result in a burn. There are only 2 positions for the sealing head, up and down. It's critical that the head is locked in securely in either the up or down position. The sealing head does require being cleaned, but that is only to be done by qualified personnel using only the proper tool. Training to risk assessments for this process is required. And that takes us to number 9, belts and stacking wheels. The conveyor belts and delivery rollers move the bags from the sealing head to the landing table. You will see several guards covering rollers and the drive shafts for both the upper and lower conveyor belts. As an operator, there is never a good reason to reach into this area, even if there's a bag dancing around in there. Many people have had injuries in this area because they wanted to get a bag out from behind the belts, even though it wasn't even creating an issue. Only bags are supposed to go through the belts and rollers, not fingers or hands. This takes us to number 10, landing table backstop. This device is set to raise, allowing the bags on the table to advance and then quickly lower to start another stack. Just like every other part of this machine, it really doesn't care where your hands and fingers are when it does what it's supposed to do. Be aware and stay clear. Now let's look at some of the emergency stops. We have an e-stop on the side of the machine between the first and second dancer section. We also have an emergency shut-off cable behind the draw rolls. We have a stop button on the side control panel, and we have an emergency stop button on the operator control panel. Only jog mode is used until everyone is clear and the web has passed the ceiling head section. Trying to do any of these processes with the machine running would be incredibly dangerous and a clear violation of safety absolute number 2.